Good afternoon. The date is Thursday, August 1st, 2024. The time is 1:36 p.m. It's another beautiful day here in Paradise, and I'm pleased to call to order the regularly scheduled August meeting of the West Palm Beach Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll first ask our board secretary to please call the roll.
Christopher Kammerer.
Here.
Christopher Hagan.
Here.
Jonathan Burgess.
Here.
Dana Pacat.
Here.
Please let the record reflect that Matthew Chambers and Alfred Fields are absent.
Okay. Based on that, we do have the bare minimum required to conduct business. However, as a heads up, I will have to recuse myself from item number 2, which is Zoning Board of Appeals case number 3440. We'll proceed with the other 2 cases, and what I would suggest is we had indications that the 2 other members that aren't here were expected to attend. So we'll just, hopefully one of them will arrive, and you know, at that time, then we would have the requisite number of people. So cross your fingers. But we'll go ahead and go through the process and at least hear 2 of the cases today. I will remind you that at any point where we only have 4 board members up here, it will be necessary for the vote to be a unanimous approval because this board requires 4 affirmative votes on a motion. Next, we'll go ahead and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May meeting. I don't think they were they in the packet? I don't know that I saw them.
They were already approved from the last meeting.
Got it. Okay. And we do not have minutes from the June meeting. I know we didn't hear any cases, so okay. Okay. With that, I'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is a report from our Planning Division staff. Ms. Jones-Van.
Good afternoon, Board. Angela Van, Planning and Zoning Administrator. Only change I will have is that ZBA case 3441. We're just going to pull it from the agenda. We don't need to continue. It wasn't advertised, so we're just going to pull that from the agenda.
Thank you. Next is remarks from the chairperson. As mentioned, we only currently have 4 people up here, so it does require a vote of 4-0 then to get on any item that comes before us. I'll now go through the just remarks on how the proceedings will be conducted. Matters before the Zoning Board of Appeals are quasi-judicial in nature. Anyone wishing to speak, including members of the public who wish to offer public comment, will need to be sworn in. The applicant will make a presentation and answer any questions from the board. The applicant will then be followed by city staff, who will provide a presentation and recommendation to the board, and then they will answer any questions. Members of the public will then be given an opportunity to provide comment, with each person receiving up to 3 minutes. Then city staff will also insert any public comment received in advance of today's meeting, such as emails, voicemails, etc., into the record. Then the applicant will have a chance for a rebuttal. The floor will then be closed, and this board will go into executive session for a discussion, a motion, and a vote. And again, 4 affirmative votes are required for approval of any motion. With that, we will now go on to the disclosures of ex parte communication. So we'll start off on my left with Board Member Pacat.
As to matter 3438, 3440, 3439, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Okay. Board Member Burgess.
As to the matters before us today, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be part of the record.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Kammerer?
As to matters 3438, 3439, 3440, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions, and I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Okay, thank you. And for my disclosures, as to all three items on our agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation, not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. As mentioned, I will be recusing myself from item number 2 on the agenda. I request that all these disclosures and all written communications may be part of the record. At this point, we'll be going into public hearing. I did want to ask any of the applicants of any of the items here, because it would, at this point, still require unanimous approval if they wish to proceed on their items or if they wish to ask for a deferral.
Hi, thank you. I'm Heather Danforth, Integrated Perspectives. I am representing item number 1 and number 3, and we'd like to move forward on both.
Okay, thank you. And I assume with the city, as long as we can get a 4th member up here, that it's desired to move forward with that item. Okay, we'll hope that occurs. Lastly, before we jump in, I do need some technical assistance with my laptop up here. If someone from city staff is able to address that. Okay, we'll now go ahead and sorry, I took our board secretary out of commission, so just give us 1 minute so she can swear in the speakers. Okay, we'll ask anybody who wishes to speak on any of the items on the agenda to please rise and raise your right hand and be sworn in by our board secretary.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, the first item on the agenda is item B1, which is Zoning Board of Appeals, case number 3438. I'll ask our board secretary to please read that item into the record.
A request by Heather Danforth of Integrated Perspectives on behalf of Maura Zika for variance from Section 94-305B4 of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically relating to the setbacks of mechanical equipment projecting more than 4 feet into a required rear setback. Location: the approximately 0.35 acre site is located at 100 Beverly Road, within Commission District Number 5, Commissioner Christina Lambert.
Thank you. We'll first start off with the applicant making a presentation. Please go ahead and identify yourself for the record.
Hi, thank you. Again, my name is Heather Danforth with Integrated Perspectives. Thank you all for being here today. Just as a little history, we were here a couple months ago, and the case was continued, and so we're here again now that we do have quorum again. So this request is to allow mechanical equipment to encroach an additional 2.8 feet into the setback. And looking at the picture here, note that all of the mechanical equipment is enclosed inside this wall, and this variance will not change any view from the right-of-way. So the project location is 100 and Beverly Road. It's on Flagler Drive. It's south of Forest Hill Boulevard. Just a little bit south there, right on the corner lot of Flagler and Beverly. It's a new construction, and the subject site is interior to the lot. It's outlined in dark red, and the site itself is in dashed red. And just notice that it's also in the southwest corner of the site. So this graphic here is kind of to depict how the zoning code works with these corner lots, because it's a little bit different than other lots. The front of the site is on Flagler, so that setback is 25 feet, which makes the rear of the site, on the back of the site, basically to the west, which is 15 feet. It's a corner lot, so we still have the side setback of 12.5, but then the side setback itself, which is the south part of the lot, is 5 feet. So the dark gray is kind of your allowable building envelope. Wait, no, excuse me. The light gray box is your allowable building envelope, but then the dark gray on the outside piece is what we're talking about. That's the mechanical encroachment. So we're asking for basically the green area to have an increase of mechanical equipment encroachment on the rear of the site. So again, that's kind of what it looks like back there on the right in the picture. That's the wall that's existing, the extra space that's over to the side for the setback, and then it's raised with a door over there. So kind of how we got here, I wanted to go through it because I think there's been conversations about that they put up that wall and they wanted to do this from the beginning. The wall's there because the site had to be raised 2 feet. So they put the wall on the outside edge, just outside of an easement. So in the lines on the outside edge where the wall is, that was kind of the original plans. And then they're like, okay, then when they're originally getting it approved, like, okay, we're gonna put mechanical equipment over there. So during that time, they went through site plan approval, they went through permitting, and there was comments about the mechanical equipment, and everybody's like, oh, we have plenty of room over there, it'll be fine. So during that time, then, okay, we needed more mechanical equipment. The water heater had to be moved outside from the garage because that was a new building code issue. And then some of the AC units that they were going to use, they didn't have in stock anymore. So they were like, okay, we need to use these. So they had to change around some of those AC units. And then the pool equipment got larger for the sizing of the pool, which was later on. So that all happened. And then it got field adjusted. And basically they arranged it in there that meet all building code requirements, which are related to specifications, and then they made it so that it was clean access in there. And then all that went through the architectural plans, so the lines that were on the landscape site plans originally, nobody really saw. So it wasn't like anybody was trying to get away with anything. It was more of just, it progressed through the construction process. So that's kind of like the general history, and then we submitted some more plans that were a part of this, and that's kind of where we're at today. The plan on the right, and there's a blow up, kind of the red diagonal area, and the left is where we're at in that southwest corner. The plan to the right is where we're at today. So there's AC units in there, there's electrical in there, the water heaters had to be moved out, and then the pool is in the back. We already had the existing landscape in the front with the wall, and then the wall going around, and then there's proposed planting, which is new. We have actually been working with the south neighbor, and he's here today, and that is part of what we've been doing to mitigate kind of the view for the south neighbor. And then we have a lawn with the easement, that's why the wall was moved over, and then they've already built a hedge over there. So this is a 6-foot wall. You can't see it from the right of way. There's landscape in front of the wall, proposed to be on the side of the wall along the buffer, and all of these AC units and electric is per manufacturer's specifications as it relates to the building code, plus they wanted to have access in there. So it just kind of got filled up in there. So equipment spacing, somebody was kind of asking questions about it, so I just wanted to kind of show you some of the AC units and kind of how each one's a little bit different and where you need to have spacing on each side. You know, you need to have your 1 foot clear, your 1 foot clear on one side, 4 inches on another, 14, and each unit is a little bit different. And that, you know, they have to be unrestricted from each angle. And so it wasn't just, you know, something thought out from the beginning, it was something more of, as specifications of each of the units came in, things just got moved around in there. So that's the site wall there. So the picture that I showed you from the beginning, the site wall where they raised it to the 6 feet, that's on the rear of the site basically, which it acts as like a side, but that connects to a larger site wall on the right, which is raising the whole site up 2 feet, which is required by code. So they kept the site wall around the whole site, but in the back, they just raised it up so that they would have some privacy, and then they ended up putting the equipment in there. And all the site wall requirements meet all setback requirements too. So when they were deciding where to put the mechanical equipment, it wasn't like, it was just like, okay, well, let's just put it here. I think the idea behind it was thought out. They don't want to put it in the front, right? They don't want to put it on Beverly. And then the way the site works is the rear of the site is to the south property line. So that's a side setback. So basically they could have put it all the way up to 1 foot on that side, but instead they put it over in this southwest corner. And that has that 15-foot setback, so there's a lot more room in there to screen everything. And then they also considered the neighboring property to the south. That wall right there on the south side of the neighbor's property, on the first level, has no windows at all. So it isn't adjacent to any big windows or anything at all. So again, going back to the zoning code, the corner lots work a lot differently than the interior lots. If this was an interior lot and they put it in that same location, this wouldn't be an issue at all. It's just the Flagler lots. The Flagler lots have that fronting on Flagler, even though a lot of the new construction is putting the door on the side street, and that's where it's actually addressed and everything. And then the rear of the lot is on the west, and that makes that south side, again, that side setback, which is only 5 feet, excuse me. So that, and kind of what I did is I took like an analysis. Okay, that's how it works now, but this is how it really works today. So the front of the lot is Beverly, the side road. The rear of the lot is a neighboring property to the south. The side corner would really be Flagler, as the way the lot works, and then this would be considered a side yard setback. But that's 15 feet compared to what's 5 would be required by code. And so with this 4 foot allowable mechanical encroachment, we're like if it worked like that, we wouldn't even be here today. Like if we could just line it up on the back and line it up on the side, and it would be fine 1 foot away from the property. So kind of the option that works with code, kind of like we're kind of trying to do what the code wants. We're trying to screen the mechanical equipment, put it in the back, and kind of be nice to all the neighbors. If we were to do exactly what it was by code and we were doing what was allowable, we could basically move that equipment and just put it 1 foot from the south property. The south neighbor doesn't want it like right up next to his house, of course. And we've had discussions with the south neighbor and we've kind of resolved those. But I think that this is the alternative of not approving the variance, is moving it back over here, which is not as good of a solution. So with that, I'm going to kind of quickly go through your standards of review. This is particular to this structure, land and building, because it is a corner lot and the way the setback definitions worked. Also, this is like a new world with these raised lots. So we have these raised lots with walls, and everyone's kind of working that out. And then the neighbor's lot, in the way that this lot is oriented together, like in the way the houses are set. And on Flagler, there's a lot of different orientations. It's not as just straight and cut. And then this is not actions of the applicant. I mean, this was more equipment, larger equipment that was moved over time, and this was a 2-year process. It wasn't like it just happened overnight. There's no special privileges that will be granted in this. This site meets all the SF7 zoning district regulations. Again, no outward appearances would change. And this benefits the neighbors more by actually having room for screening. We're now going to add additional shrub material along the edge of the wall. This meets the literal interpretation of the code. If this was an interior lot facing Flagler, it would already be there, allowed by right. So it's hiding the mechanical equipment. That's what we wanted. And then there was careful placement with the mechanical equipment inside the wall to make better screening for the neighbors. We're asking for 2.8 feet instead of 3. We're really trying to do the minimum request for this this variance, and it's consistent with a comprehensive plan by encouraging redevelopment. This was a vacant lot. The SFF flu is consistent with the SFF zoning. This allows for more space on both sides for both the west and the south. The wall provides privacy, and this space provides better circulation for all the units. This is in line with the public welfare. The equipment's enclosed. You saw the door, and it won't harm the public. The setbacks and heights for all wall and building meet code. And we've coordinated the noise and views mitigation efforts with the neighbors. This is a reasonable use, having ACs and pool equipment. This is part of what's expected in a house, and all of it will meet building code. All the mechanical equipment is a permitted use that's allowed in the zoning district, and there's a financial hardship with this, yes, but the walls was already constructed to raise the site, so the wall was being built taller to enclose the system, so now it's just a matter of moving the mechanical equipment inside of an existing wall. So with that, I request approval to grant a mechanical equipment encroachment variance to allow a 2.8 deviation from the allowable encroachments. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Start off on my right with Vice Chair Kammerer. Are there any questions of the applicant?
Yes, please. Could you go back to your option B and just walk me through that again, please?
Absolutely. Okay, yes. So this is allowable by code. Do you want me to give you a minute, Mr.?
Yeah, I'm there with you.
Okay. Okay. So this is allowable by code. The red is where, well, actually, along the whole south side, the where it says side on the bottom, mechanical equipment is allowed to crouch 4 feet into that 5-foot setback. So that could be a location where the mechanical equipment could be allowed by code. So that's the way the code works today. But then the solution was to allow the 2.8 deviation and put it on the side where we still have a lot more buffer room to buffer all the mechanical equipment and space for the neighbors. And then in addition, we have also covered the pool equipment to mitigate noise, and we have added more landscape over there on the side than the original plans had.
Okay, so we have some letters here from Mara Ziska, who I assume represents your client, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then from a Mr. Randolph of Jones Foster. Mr. I know you're not a lawyer, but Mr. Randolph asserts that there is no hardship here, that the evidence does not substantiate a hardship. Could you address that?
The hardship here is that the mechanical equipment is located into a corner lot that the way the lot works is different than the way the zoning code works. And the mechanical equipment is in this location to what serves the best for the neighbors. The attorney hired was by the property owner to the south, and then he is here to take away his objection.
Okay, all right.
Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll now go to Board Member Burgess, please.
Yes, and as part of the concerns raised from the neighbor, I see a letter here that's agreeing to some additional landscaping and sound attenuation cover, and that's not currently a proposed condition of approval, but would you be supportive of that being a condition of approval?
Yes, that was drafted by legal representation, and that would be fine. Yes.
Okay, and then I think my other questions may be for staff, but the conditions currently drafted recommend approval with conditions that the variance shall only apply to the proposed air conditioning unit. That's one of the proposed conditional requirements. And so I'm not sure if you could just help us understand the layout of the equipment again and what's air conditioning units versus pool equipment.
Okay, yes. So I'm gonna go back to this slide for you, okay? So basically, there's room back in there, but it's not, we did it up to the wall here. So I guess we would ask if that condition be amended to include the generator and the pool with covers. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you. No further questions of the applicant.
Board Member Picat.
No questions.
Okay. One of my questions was, and I wanted to address the wall. Is there a requirement that there be a wall around the pool equipment? Or,
No.
sorry, around any of the mechanical equipment?
No.
Okay. And so that was primarily, it sounded like it was, I just want to understand, it was twofold. Part of it was because of the change in elevation with raising the site, but that would have just brought it up 2 feet, but then it was further extended for the purpose of screening?
Exactly. So the location of the wall of the site wasn't based off the mechanical equipment, allowable mechanical equipment encroachment. The location of the wall was based on raising the site. So they put it as far over as the easement. And then, deciding to raise that part of the wall and put the mechanical equipment behind it was part of the design process.
Okay.
Just, they didn't say that we were gonna break the code from the beginning. That's the point, yeah.
Understood. Okay. I have no further questions of the applicant, so we'll now move to a staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Valentina Broglia, planner with the City of West Palm Beach, for ZBA case number 3438, 100 Beverly Road, for a variance. We have the location video of the surroundings. It is in a single-family low-density zoning. It is a residential use. As you can see in the beginning and at the end of the video, the mechanical equipment is covered. Zoning regulations for a corner lot. This is not a double frontage lot. It would mean that, so corner lots are defined by the narrowest lot line being the front setback. And so in this case for Beverly, like Heather mentioned in her presentation, the rear would be the west side. I provided the minimum setbacks for a principal building, and then for mechanical equipment may not project more than 4 feet into a setback. So for the rear, this is a 150 lot depth, so it would be 15 feet for the rear setback, meaning they would need 11 feet setback from the rear. So they have provided 6.8 feet of encroachment into the 4 feet that's allowed, so variance would be for 2.8. Staff is recommending approval for ZBA case 3438 and complies with sections 9438D6 of the zoning, land development, and regulations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll now go to the board members here for any questions of staff. I'll start off with Board Member Burgess.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I noted that your recommendations for approval without any specific conditions written into that recommendation. So the one that I was referring to earlier, is that, are you kind of recommending just
I
blanket
believe
approval with no conditions?
that's
or?
the third case item, which is also for a generator.
I hope not. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
No, yeah, I don't think I saw conditions.
You're right. Apologies.
in our backup for this one, but there is a condition, I guess, that has been proffered by the applicant. And does staff, I will ask that, I'll go back to the board here, but does staff have any objection to that condition that was proffered by the applicant?
With their landscaping and the roof covering, that is a civil matter that they have come upon agreement of, so staff does not have any objections.
Any other questions of?
No questions for staff. Apologies for the confusion.
We'll go to Board Member Picat.
No questions.
Okay, Vice Chair Kammerer.
No questions.
I don't believe I have any other questions of staff. Okay, thank you. So we'll now move into public hearing. I'll open the public hearing, and I do have a card here first from Mortimer Coran, so please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Mortimer Curran, 7007 South Flagler Drive. I live in the property to the south. I'm happy to say we've reached a compromise as detailed in the letter which you all have, which is to add landscaping and a noise cover, and that was sent to Ms. Broglie as therefore as well. So I'm happy to say that because of the compromise, we're withdrawing our objection and support the variance request. And just to address, Mr. Hagan, your question about the wall adds screening as well as noise containment. Because without the variance request, we could potentially have 10 pieces of equipment along that wall with no wall, and with the way the code is written, that it's a 5-foot setback, but it can protrude 4 feet. You've got a 12 inches, and there's no limit on the amount of equipment the way the code's written in terms of massing and scaling. When it was written, they probably assumed people would have one AC unit, one pool motor. But anyway, we support it.
Thank you. I'll ask, that's the only card that I received. I'll ask if there's anybody else here in the audience who wishes to speak on this item. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask staff if there were any voicemails, emails, or other correspondence that needs to be read into the record.
There were no voicemails or correspondence on otherwise the ones that you have before you today.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll note that we did have 2 pieces of correspondence that we were presented with today. One was the item from Maura Ziska that was proffering the condition, and then attached to that was also the original letter from John Randolph that was stating the objection. That was dated back in May 31st, 2024. So that was part of the backup for the when we first saw this item on the June agenda, and then we did receive correspondence via email. Again, that's in the record. I'll just note it. That was transmitted to all the ZBA members via email. That was an updated letter from Mr. Randolph, but that was dated before this proffered condition. So as we understand from the updates that have been provided to us today, there's been an amicable agreement that has been reached.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll provide let me close the public hearing, and then we do provide rebuttal for the applicant, but if you did just want to state a few words, that's fine.
Yeah, just like you said, with the facts that there was some opposition with a neighbor, and it was resolved throughout this process. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to executive session here from the board. I'll start off with Board Member Picat. Any comments or discussion for the board?
Just to confirm that one of the conditions, if we approve this, is that they will be planting additional landscaping, correct? That wasn't part of the conditions originally
So whoever makes the motion, it seems like ought to include that. I think it seems like there's consensus that ought to be included in the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll now go to Vice Chair Kammerer. Any discussion for the board?
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear as to what the conditions were. Are the conditions as are written in Ms. Ziska's letter, the planting of 4 white birds of paradise, 7 feet tall, putting sound attenuating cover over the swimming pool equipment? Are there other conditions?
I think those are the only conditions that have been presented to us.
Yes, those are the conditions that the neighbors agreed upon.
Okay. No further comments.
Okay. Board Member Burgess?
Yeah, I'll just say we may want to just simplify the condition to reference appropriate landscaping instead of being specific, because it's within the utility easement. We want it to be right tree, right place, and vetted properly, so, the staff can take a look at what that appropriate nature of landscaping looks like. But I think we should put a condition in there for the landscaping. It's out of attenuation, just to carry through the commitment on behalf of the agreement that was made. And I would say generally, each case stands on its own merit and testimony. I do believe that the properties along Flagler Drive have the additional constraint of raising the finished floor elevations for new construction, in addition to being heavily corner lots, which have the different setback requirements that we're familiar with. So I believe that those two constraints, provide some of the justification for the hardship that the applicant faces. So that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no further comments for the executive session. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant ZBA case number 3438, a request by Heather Danforth of Integrated Perspectives on behalf of Mara Ziska for a variance from section 94-305B4 of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically relating to the setbacks of mechanical equipment projecting more than 4 feet into a required rear setback. The motion is based upon the testimony presented along with the application submitted and staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby makes findings of fact that each of the criteria in Article 2, Section 94-3A-D6 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations have been met. In addition, the granting of the variance is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, to wit, that additional landscaping will be placed as discussed during this meeting that will act as a hedge along the west wall of the utility disclosure. Further, that a sound attenuating cover over the swimming pool equipment will be placed.
Okay, is there a second?
One second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so I'll ask our board secretary to please call the roll.
Christopher Kammerer,
Yes.
Jonathan Burgess,
Yes.
Dana Pacat,
Yes.
Christopher Hagan,
Yes. The motion passes 4-0, so the item is approved. Okay. We'll go, in the slight hope that we might still get another member, we'll go ahead and skip item number 2 for the moment, and we'll go on to item number 3. So I will first ask our board secretary to please read item B3 into the record.
A request by Heather Danforth of Integrated Perspective on behalf of John Caligli for variance from section 94-305B4 of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically relating to the setback of an air conditioning unit projecting more than 4 feet into a required setback. The subject property, consisting of 0.28 acres, is generally located at 7103 South Flagler Drive, with Commission District Number 5, Commissioner Christina Lambert.
Thank you. We'll start off with the applicant's presentation.
Hi, hello again. Heather Danforth, Integrated Perspectives. This case is similar to the last, but a little bit different. It's just a couple blocks down from the last case as well. Okay. This is what it looks like. It's an accessory structure built on the rear, as I say, rear in a new interesting way, of a Flagler lot. So again, the site location is really close, south of Flagler, Forest Hill Boulevard on Flagler, and it's a corner lot on Flagler and Costello this time. The This is an aerial, and where we're talking about on the lot is dashed in red. The area we're talking about is an accessory structure. Ugh, I can't talk now. This accessory structure was built in 2023. It's part of a main house in the front. It went through the permit process, and here we are today with requesting a mechanical equipment variance for the accessory structure because it's a rear lot line and there's no zoning code referencing the setbacks for mechanical equipment for accessory structure. So it's a little bit different. Well, I'll get to it in more detail. So with this one, again, a little bit different. I'm going to go to these building envelope graphics because I like to see things. You have your main building in gray, the dark gray dashed, the light gray dashed, and then you have your accessory building, which you have to have building separation for, but then you have accessory building setback requirements. So now we're allowed to go up to 5 feet in that 15-foot rear setback. So the building was permitted and constructed 5 feet from that rear setback line. So I know we're kind of going in circles here, but that's our request area because they want to put mechanical equipment in that 5-foot setback to because it's only 5 foot in there, and they want to let it encroach 4 feet, which is allowable with other parts of the code. So if you look on the right, that's the building. It's a garage downstairs, and then there's a unit up on top, and then the tree behind the tree is the mechanical equipment over there. And we're requesting for a 10-foot deviation because it's a rear setback now. So history, again, we didn't just do this just because. So I'm going to work backwards on this one. How did this happen? Code compliance, it was all constructed. Code compliance came out in March of 2024. And everybody's like, what happened? And the reason why is because they were actually in a partial final CO. So they'd already built it and it was already there, and then they had a hold on it for some floodplain issues but the architect was, there's stories with the architect. Anyway, so they had final mechanical was approved in August of 2023, and then the initial permit plans were 2022. So again, kind of the same timeline for construction the last couple of years, but this one was brought to no one's attention because, there's already allowable 5-foot setback there. So the 1-foot deviation kind of seems normal for a side setback, but there's nothing in the code that says it. So here's kind of a plan version of that and where we're at, and then here's an elevation version of it. The request area is on the rear, which acts kind of like a side setback for an accessory structure. The accessory structure is allowed to be 5 foot from the property line, and then we're requesting to basically have that 1-foot difference. So just like a side setback, we're asking to put the AC unit in the deviated area, but since this is a corner lot, the site works differently. So it's a rear setback. So this is not seen from the right-of-way. There's landscape on the adjacent property. And again, the spaces is per the manufacturer's specification. It's just that when you build an accessory structure, you're not allowed to, there's no code reference to the rear setback and mechanical equipment encroachments. So one of the conditions on this is that we do get approval from consent from all the utilities. I think our main concern was FPL, and we have no issue with that. We already got our consent from them because we saw that there was a pole in there. And then we also got our consents from Comcast and AT&T and FPU, and so we fully intend on meeting that condition. And with that, is going through the standards of review. This is again a corner lot. Again, the setback definitions kind of work a little bit different than what other corner lots do. And then the accessory structures allow the 5-foot setback, but then there's no provisions for the mechanical equipment. This wasn't actions of any way in the applicant. They got their conditional CO, and it was designed and improved in the current location. And this will not provide any special privileges. Again, no outward appearance is going to change. Everything's pretty much blocked by that tree, and it meets all accessory structure zoning district regulations. The literal interpretation of the code, I mean, the variance is consistent with accessory structure setbacks and the FS7. I think that there's no, wanting the mechanical equipment screened this is a good place to put it. Minimum request, the allowable equipment setback is in for the way that the lot works. So we're just doing the minimum 1 foot, which is now 10 feet because of the rear. And this one is consistent with a comprehensive plan to encourage redevelopment also, and the housing policy, because there is a unit upstairs, and also the single-family flue is consistent with the SFF zoning district, and plus it meets all accessory structure codes. I mean, without the variance, of course. And then the public welfare, the AC units set in the back, it's kind of on the side, and all the setbacks and heights and building code has been met. Reasonable use, I think 98% of all houses have AC, so having an AC unit is a reasonable use. And then the mechanical equipment is allowed in the SF7 zoning district, and this would be a financial hardship, yes, and moving in after everything was constructed would mean reworking the whole system, and so they have already designed and built it, and they would like the approval to have it in that location. Also, there has been no feedback from any of the neighbors on this. There's been no one against it, and no one's had any issues at all. So with that, I request to grant a mechanical equipment variance for an accessory structure to allow 10-foot deviation to allow mechanical equipment in the encroachment. Any questions?
Okay. We'll go ahead and thank you for the presentation. We'll go ahead and start with Vice Chair Kammerer.
I know that you said that none of the neighbors had commented. How about the next door neighbor? Did anybody speak with that person?
I haven't spoke with that neighbor, but I haven't heard any comment. All public notice was mailed twice.
So notice was mailed to the next door neighbor?
Twice, yes.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Board Member Burgess.
No questions for the applicant, thank you.
Okay. And Board Member Picotte?
No questions.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions either, so
Thank you.
thank you. We'll now move to our staff presentation.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Jermaine Swaby, Planning and Zoning Senior Planner, for the record. The rear setback is 15 feet for the principal building with a maximum encroachment of 4 feet for the mechanical equipment. However, as stated by the applicant, the AC unit will be servicing the accessory structure, which is setback 5 feet. So therefore, 11 feet is required for the setback, and the request is for a 1 foot setback with a variance of 10 feet. So here we have the site photos. As mentioned, the report, the configuration is restrictive to the placement of the mechanical equipment. In view 1, we can see the front yard by code operating as its side. In view 2, the corner side operating as its front yard. And in the third view, we have the rear, which has an accessory garage and is set back 5 feet from the property line. All right, and here we have the video. So we are along Flagler Drive. You're seeing the front of the property, which operates as its side, as stated. And then we're heading west onto Costello. And they were on the corner side, which is operating as the front, as you'll see them in a few. So you see we have the access way and driveway here. And then the video ends pretty much at the rear of the property where the AC units would be proposed. All right, and here we have the site plan. So the garage is shown in gray. The pool activity area is behind, south of the garage. And then you have the pedestrian activity and storage on the east side, and pretty much along the front, which we says operates as the front on the north, which operates as the front part, and therefore that leaves the rear of the property for the AC units. So staff is therefore recommending approval with conditions based on the findings that the petition meets all the required variance standards found in section 94-38 D6 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations. This recommendation is made subject to the following conditions: that the variance shall only apply to the air conditioning units, and also prior to the approval of the building permit, executed consent forms are required from the applicable utility companies for the placement of the AC units within the easement which they have provided.
I'll now go to our board for any questions of staff. I'll start off with Board Member Burgess. Any questions of staff?
Yeah, what's the dimensional setback from the north side of the proposed AC unit or existing AC unit to the property line? Just because I'm seeing that the building frontages are kind of lined up in that location, and it appears like it's set back.
Along the north?
No, from the unit to the, I'm just trying to compare it to the facade of the front of the building to the west, if it's sitting within what would have been considered a front setback for that property next door. Because next door, the front setback's 25 feet, right? So that's why this building can go up closer to the street than the next door neighbor.
Gotcha.
But does this AC unit line up with that front neighbor's front setback line?
Gotcha. So just a notable that the garage that you see, that's an existing structure.
Right.
So pretty much this is the AC unit being placed for reasonable enjoyment of the structure.
Yeah, I understand, but my question's related to the proximity of the AC unit to the western neighbor, and the front setback that neighbor has to abide by is 25 feet. So
Okay.
I'm seeing a roughly 12.5-foot dimension to the garage, and I'm wondering how much further back.
Oh, the north is actually, so as stated, the north is acting as a front. So that's where, much of the entry where the garage is, as well as the pedestrian entry into
Right,
the
so
yard
what's the
itself.
setback from the property line to the AC
It
unit?
is,
About 25 feet, it looks like.
on the west side, the setback is 1 foot from the,
Nope, from the north side of the
The
AC
north.
unit to the property line to the north.
So looking at the plans, this is the 12.5 in the blue, and it appears that the setback is in close to the 25 setback for the interior lot to the west.
Okay.
Okay.
So the proposed or existing AC locations sit 25 feet at least from that, northern property line?
I don't have the scaled plans in front of me, but it looks like it's approximately very close to that,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. No further questions for staff. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, Board Member Picott,
No questions.
Vice Chair Kammerer.
No questions.
So along those lines, I was a little bit unsure. I didn't recall. Have these units already been installed and placed, or is this seeking approval to place them?
so they're seeking to install a AC unit on the rear, pretty much. So this is for the installation, right?
No, they've received building permit approval. It's all been constructed,
Okay.
and then code came out afterwards.
I see. Okay, because in the photograph, there was a garbage can blocking, so I couldn't tell if they were back there or not. I don't think so. So they have been installed.
Yeah, they've been installed. They're just difficult to see from the right of way.
I see. Okay, which is probably a good thing. But, okay. Well, yeah, to that point, I agree with Board Member Burgess. If they hadn't been installed, I think we would want that as a condition. Eyeballing it, it looks like it's about 25 feet, but we don't know for sure from that. But I think that's a very good point. I don't have any further questions of staff. Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone here who wishes to speak on this item, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask staff, are there any emails, voicemails, or other communication that need to be entered into the record?
So there was just one email inquiring about the type of mechanical equipment. I mentioned that it would be an AC unit, and then they were not in objection based on the fact that it won't be making the noise that they would expect it to.
Okay, thank you. Okay. With that, I'll close the public hearing. Provide the applicant an opportunity for rebuttal if there is anything. I don't know that there is, but feel free.
Just one thing, I thought about the neighbor to the west. My belief is that that is a rental property, and it's owned by the neighbor to the north, who we've already had discussions with. Okay? Thank you.
And regarding notice, I know that you talked about mailed notices. I don't recall, do signs get posted on the property as well too for ZBA cases, or no? Is that
It's a mail notice.
just the mailers?
Yes.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move into executive session. So I'll start off with Board Member Picard. Any comments for executive session?
No.
Okay. Vice Chair Kammerer,
No.
Board Member Burgess.
No comments or discussion.
Okay. I don't think I have any comments either. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll make the motion. I move that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant ZBA case number 3439, a request by Heather Danforth of Integrated Perspective on behalf of John Callagy for variance from Section 94-305B4 of the city's zoning and land development regulations to allow the air conditioning unit to encroach 14 feet into the required rear setback. The motion is based upon the testimony presented along with the application submitted in staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby makes findings of fact that each of the criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D6 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations have been met. In addition, the granting of the variance is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach. Number 1, the variance shall only apply to the proposed air conditioning unit. Number 2, prior to the approval of the building permit, executed consent forms are required from the applicable utility companies for placement of the AC unit within the easement.
Okay, there's a motion that's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Kammerer and seconded by Board Member Picard. I'll ask our Board Secretary to please call the roll.
Dana Picard,
Yes.
Christopher Kammerer,
Yes.
Christopher Hagan,
Yes.
Jonathan Burgess.
Yes.
Okay, the item passes 4-0. Okay, thank you. Circling back to item B2, unfortunately, and I apologize that I do have to recuse myself from that item, which would then cause us to lose a quorum here on the board. So it looks like that item would need to be continued to our next hearing. So I don't know if staff, if you wanted to come forward and just note that we'll have to, unfortunately, have to continue that to the next hearing, I believe. Okay.
Staff understands, to have a quorum.
Okay. So with that, there are no other cases that are on today's agenda. So we have no further business, no new business, and then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is a second? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, at 2:35 p.m., the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for August 2024 is adjourned.